Bobby Lashley reportedly on his way out of WWE. I mean, he's still in WWE right now as we speak. That could change in the next couple of days, but him, MVP, and Tamina, the rumor. I mean, I know that what a class right there, but throwing Tamina with Bobby and MVP. Nothing against Tamina, but not quite the same class of competitors. But on Sunday, the rumor came out that they were removed. I think the source was hashtag PWN, something like that. Wasn't a source that you would normally see in the news. They were actually the same people, that reported about the women's mid-card belts a couple weeks ago, and you would ask me, is this a legit source? And I said, typically not, but there might be some smoke to the fire here, because Fightful and PW Insider also backed up this report. They were removed from the internal roster over the weekend, which typically indicates that, like, if you have a very serious injury, like, a Tyson Kidd or a Big E, people like with those type of injuries are still in the company, obviously, in a certain capacity, but they're not wrestling, so they're taken off the internal roster. Or like Bray Wyatt, after he got sick, within a couple of months of that happening, he was taken off the internal roster because they weren't sure when he'd be back. I don't think that's the case with Bobby. I think it's a case of, as these outlets are reporting, that he is interested in potential free agency. And he is still under contract, like I said, as is MVP. Tamina still works there, but probably behind the scenes, or they might have her train or whatever, but she's still in the company. MVP and Bobby specifically are on their way out. Not only are they on their way out, but they could be AEW bound. The report indicated that they might be interested in getting the Hurt Business back together. Now, we have not seen the Hurt Business as a full-on, full-fledged faction probably in like 3 years. I know they had teased reuniting in late 2021, 2022, 2023. There were a lot of teases for it, and they never really went, they never really fully reunited the group for whatever reason. Under Vince, under Triple H, they never really got the group back together. Shelton Benjamin was released back in September of last year, and he hasn't done much since on a major scale. And they might want to get the group back together in AEW, apparently. So your thoughts on that report? Bobby's time in WWE we'll get to in a moment, but the idea that Bobby might be on his way out of the company and headed to AEW, are you in favor, or you think it might not be a great idea?
I saw the reports, and I was like, oh, geez. Obviously he hasn't been around in a little bit. I think when I was listening to Hashtag yesterday, you kind of mentioned that he was out seemingly injured. I feel like he hasn't been around in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But he is a little bit older. If they really want to do the whole Hurt Business thing, I guess that's a good opportunity. But, him, Shelton, MVP, I assume they're all have to be in their mid to late 40s at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Not sure if they're going to have like a big run coming up, but like if he's really set on doing that, it's definitely an opportunity. But, for AEW, I know he is like a bigger star, but it's like, do you focus on what you already have and kind of younger talent, or do you just like want a big name? Because obviously Bobby's still like a good sized name and it's a good get for anyone. But obviously, like I said, mid 40s, doesn't really have that much left in the tank. But I think he probably has a good year or two left as like could be a top heel. So I think there is legs there. It just really depends on what you're looking to do, like company wide.
Yeah, Bobby specifically, I've always thought was a weird fit for AEW. Not that there was ever really the chance that he would go there until now. For the last couple of years, he's been pretty prominently featured for the most part, really since his initial rise to the WWE title back in 2020, 2021. Yeah, but I just feel like with the Hurt Business, there is a lot of untapped potential there. Running that back in AEW, as opposed to WWE, do you think, one, that it would, first of all, succeed? And two, you mentioned yourself, and I'd mentioned this in Hashtag as well, that all the members, Bobby, MVP, Shelton, are at least 45 or up. Shelton might be a little younger, he might be the youngest of the bunch, I might be wrong in that, I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure they're all at least 45 right now, if not higher. MVP might be 50. But MVP can't really go in the ring at this point, but he was a great manager when he was on the show with Bobby for a while there. Shelton can obviously go, Bobby we know can go. If you're Tony Khan specifically from that standpoint, is it worth it to bring these guys in? You're going to get a good group out of it. But these aren't guys that you're really building towards for the future. It's not they're like mid-30s, late 40s. Like Ricochet, they bring him in, and they should, and they probably will. He's mid-30s. He can do some, good for the company working with those people. If they were to bring in the Hurt Business, great group, and I'm not dismissing the value they would add to AEW. But do you add like not specifically this individual, but like a Dante Martin type person, or maybe not Leo Rush, but someone like that to add to the group that might be on the younger side, like a Cedric when he was a part of the group a couple of years ago. He's still in WWE, of course. That could benefit from being with them to make it worthwhile for Tony Khan, or do you just bring in the three of them as it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to bring them in and feature them at like a decent level, I think you'd want to put a young guy with them to try to rub them off on the group. Did just a quick Google search. Bobby's 48, Shelton's 49, and MVP's 50. So, wow. Old, a little bit old, like we said, older. Oh, we said over 45. I mean, they're all 50 or close enough. So, yeah. I mean, like I said, it all really depends on how we say it all the time. It's realistically how you book them. I mean, like I said, I think Bobby specifically has like a good year or two left as like a decently dominant heel. I just don't really see him pushing him at like a high enough level that it'd be worth it. Like, I don't think he's going to be like a main eventer, but I think with WWE-wise, I feel like it'd be a perfect idea to turn him heel and go against, you mentioned on hashtag, like, go against like Cody, like in a little feud against Cody, but I guess that's not the direction they're going in. But I think depending on what they do, if they're going to, like I said, make the group serious or book them well, it would be smart to put a young guy with them.
Yeah, I feel differently about Bobby than I do like an Edge or a Ricochet, and they were in two different situations as well, respectively. With Edge, he wanted to go and he wanted to have his one last run, being more active. Obviously, he got hurt recently, but he was more active on TV than he was in WWE. He did all the major matches in WWE in the 3 or 4 years he was there for, with Rollins and Roman and AJ and Balor and a few other people along the way. There were obviously more matches he could have done, but he wanted to work with Christian, and that made sense. The Ricochet one, him leaving on his own, also we talked about it. I'm actually in favor of that because he can get some fresh matches in AEW. He's more of a high flyer. They kind of specialize in that stuff. I just feel like, not that he's going to have more of a chance to work at a higher level, because they have already so many people as it is as well, in addition to WWE. But he's already done all that he can do in WWE. As a former U.S. champion, IC champion, he's worked with a lot of the people in WWE. I was fine with him moving on. Bobby, obviously, it's not my choice. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. But I'm just saying with Bobby, like you mentioned, and as I already alluded to yesterday, you have Cody, Gunther, Braun Breaker. I mean, I know he just worked with Karrion Kross, and that feud was what it was, but, there were just so many more people I think that he could have worked with, and putting over the Profits. You could have just turned Montez Ford heel or turned Bobby heel and have Montez Ford work with him. I mean, there's a million different things you could do with a guy like Bobby Lashley. I think he was actually hurt, because it looked like he was going to work with Carmelo Hayes before he got hurt and was taken out of the King of the Ring, and we haven't seen him on the show since. I just feel like it's a waste. That being said, with what WWE could have done with Bobby and why Bobby's leaving, maybe he wants to see what he's worth, I don't know. Your thoughts on his overall run in WWE? Because the other narrative so far in the last, couple of days is that in the 6 years he's been back, not including the first few years that he was there for from 05 to 07, but he's been back now since 2018, a lot longer than he was around the first time. And he's had a lot of success. A 2-time WWE champion, 2-time Intercontinental champion, 2-time United States champion, Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner for whatever the fuck that's worth, obviously. But, there was a stretch there. The first year or two was awful with the Lana shit. We were there for the wedding. Fucking terrible. The wedding was great. Watch your mouth. One of the worst segments we have ever seen live or just in general. The epitome, the perfect conclusion to the year 2019 for that company. But, from that point forward with the Hurt Business stuff, really, striking gold with that. And then in the last couple of years, it's been on and off. But what is your overall assessment of Bobby's recent run in WWE? Did they drop the ball there, or do you think he had a pretty satisfactory run overall?
I mean, I think he had a good career. I mean, like, a good comeback. I assume we probably talked about this when he came back in 2018, like you said. I mean, I assume we probably said there's a chance of him being, like, WWE champion, but, like, mid-card was probably more ideal for him. And like you said, multiple-time WWE champion. The Hurt Business was a big thing on Raw for a while. United States champion. I mean, I feel like he did a ton. I mean, I think it'd be foolish to say that he didn't. I think he had a really good run, and I mean, he's also at the back end of his career. When he came back in 2018, he was 42, 43 years old, so it's not like he was a spring chicken when he came back.
Yeah.
They usually don't even give guys like that opportunity, so I think he had a good return. I think it'd be kind of foolish to say you dropped the ball. Like, yeah, could they done a little bit better maybe? Yes, but, I mean, like I said, he was a WWE champion. If you told me that was going to happen, I'd probably laugh in your face. I just don't think they ever really saw him at that level. But I thought he had a good comeback, and, I mean, I don't know how you could say it's a failure. He won the WWE championship twice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that I would say that have left or have either been released or left on their own that I would be like, all right, they didn't do enough with this guy, and I've talked enough about those people. But Bobby, I mean, yeah, there's obviously with every person, you can't say they've had a perfect career. There's always opportunities that they drop the ball on. With him, obviously, the greatest example was the Hurt Business. When he first came in, he had a lot of buzz coming over from TNA, and that just was completely fucking squandered. And the aforementioned Lana shit and the Rusev feud, the Braun Strowman feud, a lot of shit they were doing with him in 2019 was just god fucking awful. They had him with Corbin and Drew at one point when they were feuding with the Shield. It was pretty bad. It looked like he was doomed for the mid-card probably for good. And people are lucky that, he didn't leave before his contract came due in 2020 or 2021, but thankfully they turned things around in the Vince era, no less, as well, and became WWE champion. The second reign only lasted all of 2 fucking weeks, but the first run was a 6-month-long WWE title run from March through whenever he lost it. I think in September to Big E, so that was a pretty decently long run.